What's up everyone, it's Endymion, and there's been a ton of crazy information coming out surrounding Disney and its many projects. From outspoken actors dooming their future movies to executives incentivizing employees when it comes to ousting conservative voices within the company, we got a lot to cover in this video. To start, I want to look at the new Snow White movie, which is very likely going to be a biblical level failure for Disney when it releases. To quickly recap, Peter Dinklage said on a podcast that making the dwarves in Snow White little people was typecasting, and that Disney needs to do better, which in response the dwarves are now just regular-sized people in the Snow White remake. Well, except one of them, I guess. Little people actors across the industry were furious with Dinklage over his virtue signaling, saying his actions will lead to less opportunities for little people in cinema, which they're absolutely right. So that's one side of the coin for Snow White. The other is that Disney is yet again making the modern remake into another girl boss nightmare. Snow White will now be played by Rachel Zegler, a Latino woman who not only doesn't fit the archetype of Snow White, but the character will also not be pursuing love in the remake. Because having a woman in modern day aspire to be in a heterosexual relationship is like poison to these woke lunatics. It gets worse, so please watch this clip of Rachel Zegler digging her own grave.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
Also, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms, is what makes it so relevant.
And just like that, fans have clapped back saying Snow White's entire point of existing has been hijacked by woke activists yet again. Of course, none of this is surprising because, like I said, having women need men in today's media makes these activists want to projectile vomit. Another interview has also sparked even more debate where Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot are interviewed about the themes of Snow White, so please watch.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
And as you can see, Snow White is quickly becoming yet another certified Disney box office flop in the making, where the studio and those involved will cry sexism and racism if their movie that rejects all of its core values ends up flopping. None of this is surprising since Disney has been losing money at a staggering pace this year, with almost none of their movies making any real profits at the box office. The Little Mermaid flopped, nobody saw Haunted Mansion, Indy 5 crashed and burned, and Snow White will just be joining the ranks of failed Disney media soon enough. And as if these weren't bad enough, Rachel Zegler went viral again while being interviewed as she was protesting during the writer-actor strike, so let's give that a look.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
I just know Disney CEO Bob Iger watched that clip and his eyes just dimmed ever darker because he knows Snow White is going to flop and there's nothing that can be done about it. And now your lead actress is demanding residuals for every stream of your future woke disaster that'll lose you millions. I just know Bob is screaming into a Mickey Mouse pillow right now. Or maybe I'm wrong since it was recently reported from Bounding Into Comics. Disney culture won't change because employees are silenced, executives think they are too big to fail. This new rumor claims that Disney's top executives have ushered in a company culture that forbids employees from calling out bad ideas within the studio, and that Bob Iger and his yes men truly do believe that Disney is far too powerful and big to fail, regardless of countless box office losses. Although according to this anonymous whistleblower within the company, the reality is anything but what they believe. and that Disney's profits are in a free fall since their parks and sports related content can no longer juggle the staggering losses their other platforms are facing, with stuff like Disney Plus losing billions every quarter, for example. Apparently, even mentioning that Disney has gone woke within the company will result in human resources getting involved. And if any employee questions or is accused, they are either silenced, punished, or fired in response. This whistleblower had more to say, and I quote, "It's not just management and creative visionaries, they've actually lost a lot of technical and creative story ability. Forget the woke for a moment, The Little Mermaid was dark, badly edited, poorly paced, and had awful music. They've lost key Imagineers, broken key links to past talent in that regard. The brain drain is real. What I mean is, even if they wanted to tell a good story, one that fails its standalone diversity, equity, and inclusion test, I don't know if they could actually make it properly and for a reasonable cost. If you really want to see core Disney wreckage, don't look to Lucasfilm or Marvel, instead sit back and feast your eyes on the recent Pinocchio, Peter Pan, and Little Mermaid, then watch the 3 originals. And remember, you are not allowed to say what is causing these properties to fail inside Disney. That is where free speech goes to die." End quote. It's that last part especially that rings like the warning beacons of Gondor itself. Ultimately, that is the endgame of corporate ESG-infused companies. It's about spreading the message to everyone regardless if they are willing to receive it, and scaring them into obedience if they try to question anything. Disney allegedly, according to this report, are banking on the fact that they know their IPs stretch far into the societal consciousness, and that actively trying to avoid what Disney makes is too much of a burden for the ordinary consumer. Therefore, while there are people out there who call out Disney like yours truly, they are in the end confident you'll all watch their stuff anyways, because they think you're stupid, lazy, and uninformed, and you'll consume whatever they give you because they're Disney. An anonymous Disney employee who works in the park spoke out in this report as well. This employee says the corporate silencing of conservative values and voices has spread to every corner of the House of Mouse, and that hiding your true values while working for Disney has become a balancing act for many, since even remotely making someone question you're not liberal will lead to the Disney Gestapo to arrive at your doorstep to smash your kneecaps and fire you. And it's clear this entire company shift isn't working, since Disney will be removing even more content from Disney Plus in order to gain a $1.8 billion tax refund. And many of their recent shows have terrible audience scores as well, which coincidentally are programs that push girl bosses and sideline male characters. And recently, it was also reported that Disney openly rewards employees who oust others that have conservative values. And the more woke the employee virtue signals, the more they are rewarded. Since around 2020, employees have been regularly incentivized to push concepts like diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that pushing these concepts was not only rewarded, but mandatory in terms of maintaining job security. If you criticized or said anything that challenged these woke-infused beliefs, Disney could use that information against you and remove your yearly bonuses under the guise of workplace bullying and harassment. Employees would also be strong-armed into only expressing far left-leaning political views. And if any employee was found or suspected of challenging this, they would be sent to Human Resources for course correction. The goal here, it seems, is that Disney wants to create their entire company into a homogeneous state of like-minded individuals. And as of 2023, almost every conservative voice within the company has either been fired or simply lives in silence in order to keep their jobs. This report also states Disney has been pushing their diversity and inclusion program to ensure the company largely only hires people of color as well. The problem here being that people of color are allegedly hired without actually meeting the criteria needed for the job that they're applying for. They're simply hired because of their skin color, sexual identity, or strong beliefs that enforce liberal values. So if you're wondering why Disney's products have dipped so low in quality, it's likely because the people working on these projects are not even qualified for the job to begin with. This aggressively anti-white hiring process is enforced by Disney's current diversity head, Latondra Newton. This woman, or whatever they identify as, since this is Disney after all, champions diversity, equity, and inclusion above literally anything else. This chart might be a little hard to read, but here's some of the points Disney's higher-ups are pushing on their employees. I'll leave this on screen for a bit so that you can read it if you'd like to. Basically, this push is to ensure people of color get preferential treatment and have their ideas and careers put ahead of others, such as white people, for example. Disney also demands every employee promote or encourage the pushing of diversity in every way imaginable. In March 2022, Disney's diversity teams have been pushing what is called internally as the DCI, or Disney Culture Index. This initiative is being used to triple Disney's investment in pushing DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts when it comes to advertising globally. Disney's president of advertising sales, Rita Farrow, also said, "This year I hope we're going to triple that. We want to make sure that every advertiser who's coming to the table is taking us up on all the investments we're making in this space and be able to use our platform to really target and build upon their consumer base." In terms of Disney attacking and removing conservative voices might sound like conspiracy theory to some, you just have to remember when Disney fired Gina Carano from The Mandalorian. A few years back, Gina warned the public over Disney's ousting of conservative voices and the push for silencing anyone they disagreed with. Gina said, and I quote, "I've been through so much and I've seen so much now clearly of the bullying that's been taking place, and I saw it before. I'm not the only one that's ever been bullied by this company, and I know that so deeply. I could share a story which would turn things around in the media, but I can't because it would sell out a friend. Everyone is afraid of losing their job. You know how boxers headhunt sometimes and forget to go for the body? I feel like Disney or Lucasfilm or whoever it is, just certain people at that company, I feel like I've been being headhunted and you can feel it. Just a couple of weeks ago, Lucasfilm asked an artist that they employ to erase my character and put a different character in place. And he proudly announces this on Twitter and erases my character and puts another character in place. All the fans of Cara Dune were just outraged. They were like, why didn't you add the character? Why did you have to take off the character? Is there something wrong? Is Gina getting fired? They've been all over me and they've been watching me like a hawk, and I'm watching people on the same production and they can say everything they want. And that's where I had a problem. I had a problem because I wasn't going along with the narrative. I've seen the bullying that takes place, and so when this started, they pointed their guns at you, and you know it's only a matter of time. I've seen it happen to so many people, and I just thought to myself, you're coming for me, I know you are. They're making it very obvious through their employees who were coming for me, and so I was like, I'm going to go down swinging, and I'm going to stay true to myself, end quote. And that's why this company-wide structure across Disney is so worrying, because the end goal is to target and blacklist anyone that doesn't push the message. These companies want to ultimately create thousands of Gina Carano-like scenarios where they are ousted for their beliefs or values. And the fact Disney has been emboldened to such a level that it's become corporate mandated is why this sort of things need to be called out. We're living in a time where free speech and the challenges of ideas are being actively discouraged by the many institutions of our society. And Disney truly does believe they don't need to change a damn thing about themselves. They just need to silence, punish, and remove anyone that doesn't agree with them, and in time their garbage ideas, like Snow White forsaking everything she stood for, or pushing diversity over talent and creativity, matter more than actually creating good products. Disney's entire culture is in a battle of ideals that will not end anytime soon. But I hope by exposing it and talking about it, it'll lead to a hopeful future where this kind of crap dies off before it gets worse. So what do you think about all of this? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching as always. Subscribe to give my life meaning, and like the video to help the channel out. Have a great day, question everything, and I'll see you in the next one.